In grammar, there are 8 important parts of speech. Today, we're going to be talking about perhaps the most important part of speech, nouns. Nouns, as you hopefully already know, are words that describe people, places, things, and even ideas. In Latin, we've seen a few nouns so far. We've seen words that describe people like caecilius, metella, pater. We've seen words that describe places, such as the word atrium, triclinium, Pompeii. We've seen words that describe things, like mensa, cibus. And there are words that describe ideas, and I don't believe we've seen any yet, but those are words like love and hate. Right? Those are nouns, even though they're not a physical object that you can touch or a place that you can go. They're still nouns. As we have read the stories in Latin, you may have noticed that our nouns have 2 forms. For instance, metella, metellam, caecilius, caecilium, mercator, mercatorem. What's going on? Why are there 2 forms here? These 2 different forms are known as the nominative case and the accusative case. Big words, big important words that I will be using for the rest of your Latin experience. So let's get a handle on what these big words mean right now. The nominative case. If Metella is doing something, such as praising Grumio, then she is the subject. She is the doer. She is the actor of the verb. And so Metella will be in the nominative. Metella grumionum laudat. We use the nominative because she is named as the doer, the subject. If somebody's doing something to Metella, then she is no longer the subject of the verb. Now we call her the object. We actually call her the direct object. In Latin, that is the accusative case. For instance, amicus metellam salutat. Metella is no longer the one doing the action. Now she is the one being greeted. So she is the accused, I suppose, if you want to think about it that way. In past classes, sometimes we call the accusative the victim for 2 reasons. One, because the word victim ends with an M, and perhaps you've noticed that these words also end with an M. Also, a victim is someone who has something done to them. They're not the ones who do an action. Let's give you some more examples of the nominative and the accusative. Some words that you already know. Canis is the nominative. The dog here would be doing something. Canem is the accusative. Something is happening to the dog. Mater. Mater is the nominative. She is doing something. Matrem, now something is happening to her. Pater, the father, is the subject. Pater in tablino scribit. Right? He's the one who's writing. Patrem, now he's the accusative. Quintus patrem salutat. Quintus greets his father. Anquila is the slave girl. This is her nominative form. She's doing something. Anquila laborat. The slave girl is working. Anquilam, now she's the accusative. Something is happening to her. Grumio anquilam vituperat. Grumio curses at the slave girl. Mercator is the nominative. He's doing something. Mercator in villa intrat. The merchant enters into the house. Mercatorem, now something is happening to him. Caecilius mercatorem salutat. The Caecilius greets the merchant. So we have these 2 forms here. We have a subject form and we have an object form. Did you know we actually have something very similar to this in English? Consider the words he and him. He goes to the mall. I see him. What about she and her? She is a Latin student. I give her homework. What about I and me? I am almost done with this. You are patiently waiting for me to be done with this. We have this idea in English. It's just not as set as it is in Latin. We don't have it in all of our nouns. We just have it in a few. Let's take a look at this story right here. This is on page 28 of the book. If you have it open, you can follow along if you really want. amicus grumionum visitat. Amicus is the nominative, grumionum is the accusative. The friend visits Grumio. Amicus est servus. Notice that there isn't an accusative in this sentence. They're all nominatives, and that's okay. You don't have to have an accusative in a sentence. The friend is a slave. Servus velam intrat. The slave is the subject nominative. Velam is the accusative direct object. The slave enters the house. Clemens est in atrio. Clemens is in the atrium. Clemens is the nominative form. The next sentence we see is accusative form. Servus clementem videt. The slave sees Clemens. Clemens servum salutat. Clemens is his nominative form. He's back in his nominative. Servum now is in its accusative. Clemens is doing something to the slave. Servus culinam intrat. Slave enters the kitchen. Slave is the nominative subject. Culinam is the accusative object. Servus culinam circum spectat. The slave looks around the kitchen. Grumio non est in culina. Again, we don't have an accusative object here. There is something going on with culina, but we won't talk about that for a while. So right now, just be looking at first subjects and direct objects. Grumio is not in the kitchen. Servus cibum videt. The slave sees food. Food is an accusative. Cibus est paratus. The food is ready. All nominatives here. Everything is the subject. Servus cibum gustat. The slave tastes the food. What does he taste? The food. Cibus est optimus. The food is great. Grumio culinam intrat. Grumio enters the kitchen. The kitchen is the thing being entered. Grumio is the one doing the entering. Grumio amicum videt. Grumio sees his friend. The friend is the accusative object. He's the one being seen. Amicus cibum Amicus cibum consumit. The friend is eating food. Coquus est iratus. The cook is angry. Pestis furcifer coquus clamat. Coquus amicum vituperat. The cook is the subject nominative. Amicum here is the accusative direct object. He's the one being cursed. The cook is the one doing the cursing. These are very simple sentences so far. We're not going to get too far into the weeds with this. But this is great. Now we can add another noun into the mix and have some variety with our sentences. Now we can have an actor acting a verb on an object, and that's pretty cool.